What's going on, guys? My name is Steve. Thank you for stopping by my channel. Today we're going to be reacting to why nobody knows who owns 15% of England. I came across this video and I thought the title sounded really interesting. Like, I don't understand how it's possible for 15% of the landmass of England to be owned by people that no one knows about. It just doesn't really make sense because in America, and I'm guessing in the UK as well, when you buy a piece of land, you get the title or the deed to that land, and you're registered as the owner of that land. And theoretically, anyone could go in and look for the owner of a particular plot of land and find out who that person is. So how do you get to the point that a whole 15% of the land in England is owned by people who no one knows about and I guess can't find out who they are? I just don't understand that. So anyways, this definitely has me intrigued. So let's go ahead and check out why nobody knows who owns 15% of the land in England.
Hey, check out this cool tract of land I found in somewhere in Wales. It's got bushes and this little gate and some electrical poles back there, all the makings for a truly legendary party. Yes, no doubt, the owner of this land is one fun-loving little scamp, and I'm sure we'd all love to call up Her Majesty's Land Registry, get this party animal's name, and organize the greatest bash that Wales has ever seen.
Right, you guys, I guess you guys have a land registry. I don't think we have a land registry, but we have, like, you know, because you pay property taxes on that land, you basically, you're registered. Basically, people can find out who owns that land because you're registered for tax purposes, basically. So, but I do remember on the tax video something about in England, you guys don't have property taxes, but you pay I forgot what it's called. I can't remember. It starts with a C. It's a different type of tax, but it's kind of like a property tax, but not exactly. But it's interesting he's starting with Wales because up here it says England. So anyways, let's continue.
But guess what? We can't. Like nearly 15% of all land in England and Wales, this land has never been registered with the government, so basically no one knows who owns it. If that seems like a problem to you, that means that my intern leaked the next 30 seconds of this video. Or it just means that you're pretty perceptive, because yes, it's a problem. Large-scale infrastructure projects like city planning or environmental management become especially difficult when the land registry's official advice for contacting the owner of unregistered land is to, quote, ask in the local pub. It also—
Are you serious? Dude, that's actually pretty awesome for the landowner, you know what I mean? Because it's kind of annoying. Here we have all the property taxes that we have to pay, and it's like, if you technically aren't registered, no one can find you. I mean, you can't really be asked to pay property taxes on your property. And I could be wrong on that, but like I said just a couple seconds ago, I think you guys in the UK don't particularly pay property taxes, but you have some other tax. But yeah, man, I don't blame them. If I could avoid registering my land, if I had land, I wouldn't do it. Why would I want to register my land? But I get for governmental purposes, it can be a little bit of headache probably.
Also affords some of England's largest landowners the privilege of anonymity, which makes it impossible for me to drag them to my guillotine, which, of course, is London's hottest new restaurant. Now, that begs the question, wait, what the hell? Why was that allowed to happen? Well, like most of the world's problems, it can be traced back to a series of bad decisions made hundreds of years ago by some old guys in robes. You see, this particular problem isn't new at all. England actually has a pretty bad history of keeping track of, well, England. The last time that the British government had a complete record of land ownership was all the way back in 1086 in something called the Doomsday Book. But to explain how we got from airtight land surveys with super cool names like Doomsday Book to lame records with lame names like Her Majesty's Land Registry, we're going to have to oversimplify some British history. So let's dive right in. In 1066, a French guy named William the Conqueror felt bad that he wasn't living up to his name and decided to conquer England. He introduced his new kingdom to all sorts of fancy new ideas like feudalism and writing down important information. Specifically, he set out to make a complete record of all the land in England and who owned it, which was pretty easy because, at the time, the only people who could own land were William the Conqueror's 170 self-appointed best friends, and God. Fast forward a few more Williams to 1348, and a bacteria named the Black Death felt bad that it wasn't living up to its name and decided to death England. Since nobody had invented horse dewormer yet, a third of England was wiped out and the whole structure of land ownership changed. Workers took advantage of the plague-induced labor shortage to demand higher wages and more freedoms, and it slowly became easier for commoners to freely own land. Of course, this couldn't possibly have any relevance for the modern day, so let's just move on. As land changed hands all across England, records struggled to keep up. For most of the country's history, the only way to transfer land was through a legal process called livery of seisin, which is Old English for giving a guy a twig and reciting a little poem about how the twig represents him owning the land now. This was good because it took about 30 seconds, but it was bad because there was literally no record of it happening, kind of like the time I ran the world's fastest marathon. Eventually, in 1535, Henry VIII was like, wait, you guys just have been handing each other sticks for 500 years? Because I have absolutely no idea who owns what now. And everyone was like, yeah, it's great, we love the sticks thing. And Henry VIII was like, well, I just invented deeds, could you guys use those instead? And everyone was like, sure, fine, whatever. And Henry VIII was like, but can you also register those deeds with the keeper of rolls in your local county so I know what's going on? And everyone was like, shut up, nerd, that's too much work. So England switched over from trading sticks to trading pieces of paper, but still no one knew who owned what. Finally, in 1862, the government—
By the way, I wanted to say so basically someone, I guess, has the actual deed to this particular land that no one knows who owns it, but this is just not registered. The one bad thing about not having it registered would be the fact if you actually lost the paper deed, like technically you don't have proof that you own it. So that could potentially bite you if you lost the actual paper deed, I'm guessing. Because otherwise, like, how would you prove that you owned it?
The government created Her Majesty's Land Registry, where anyone from England or Wales could voluntarily register their land. Naturally, everyone jumped on this exciting opportunity to fill out unnecessary paperwork to help their favorite institution, the British government. And that would be true, too, if it weren't false. In reality, almost no registrations took place until it became mandatory, and that didn't happen until the 1990s because real estate lawyers spent a century complaining that a system more competent than a bunch of pieces of paper would put them out of a job. But by 1998, any property that was bought, sold, or inherited in England or Wales needed to be registered with the government. To date, that accounts for about 85% of both countries. So where does that remaining 15% come from? Well, so long as the land has stayed in the same owner's hands since the 90s, compulsory registration hasn't kicked in, and the owners are probably still a mystery. Most likely, that final 15% has managed to hold out for so long because it either belongs to the church, the crown, or some really rich family who bought it to play a single game of croquet and then forgot. In any case, should you stumble across some unregistered land with nothing but a long abandoned set of croquet mallets, it turns out you can just take it. So instead of complaining—
What? Where land is unregistered, a squatter can acquire title by their adverse possession over a period of time. Dude. Oh man. So technically, if you did own this land and you didn't have it registered, if you're one of these 15% landowners, wouldn't you want to register it then to make sure someone couldn't come along and acquire title? Am I understanding that correctly? Okay.
About unregistered land on the internet like me, your time is probably better spent stealing it from the English aristocracy instead.
All right, dude. I think that's the end of the video. Wow, dude. That's crazy, guys. So where's that? Where'd it go? There it is. Oops. So this has me curious. So basically what this is saying is that for that 15% of land that isn't registered, so if, let's say someone still has their paper deed, right? But they never registered it. So could someone basically just go on this piece of unregistered land, build them a little house, like a tiny house or something, and then maybe put up fencing or something like that over 5 acres of land? And then start, like, maybe they they start growing crops on it. Maybe have a cow or two, and they turn it into their own little farm, right? could they then literally just go up to, I don't know where you'd go, but to wherever you would basically get title for land and say, hey, I've been living here for a year and I want to, so I'm claiming this land as mine. And so what would happen if they did that? And then based off this rule or this law, you could do that. But then the person who actually owns the land says, nope, that's my land. I have the paper deed here. Does their paper deed still outweigh their time squatting on the land? You know what I mean? Or does it not matter at all? If the person has not registered land, no matter if they got the paper deed or not, if someone goes and lives on a plot of land that isn't registered, too bad, so sad, you've lost your land. Which way is that? Like, and how long would you have to stay on that land? Because that's crazy, man. So I started this video, I started saying like, I wouldn't want to register land if I didn't have to. Why would I? Why would I want to bring the government in on, on property and things like that, especially in the U.S. where you have to pay property taxes. But in the U.K., it seems like you don't have anyway. Why would you want to bring the government in on that? But now I can see why you might want to, because it's unfortunate for these people that wanted to stay unregistered that it sounds like it's your best bet to actually register the land so that you don't potentially lose a lot of it through squatters. That's crazy, guys. I think I'm understanding what that's saying. And wow, man. Okay, so you would definitely want to register. It makes me wonder why people haven't registered it. Maybe like he says, it could be church land. It could be owned by the royals or by the monarch. It could be, I don't know. It could be a number of things. But this was really interesting. I had no idea this was a thing. We just don't have anything like this in America that I know of. Now you have large swaths of BLM land, which is owned by the public. It's like, probably millions of acres, I guess. And you can go camping on this land for example, on BLM land, you can literally basically, if you say you had an RV and like you wanted to live in an RV and just travel around, you could technically live on BLM land continuously. I think you have to move about 2 miles down the road. So something, maybe it's 20 miles. I don't know. You have to move some ways down the road, like every 2 or 3 weeks. But so let's say someone had an RV and they were living in the RV, they could basically camp out for 2 weeks in this plot of land. And then all they got to do is drive down the road a few miles and then they can stay there for 2 weeks. And then they could technically come back to where they were. So they could technically go back and forth between 2 spots, if I'm not mistaken. And they could live like that indefinitely if they wanted to. So that's pretty interesting, but that's not what this video is about. Just had me thinking about that. But anyways, guys, I thought this was interesting. I would love to own some land in England. Even if I never lived there, fully or whatever, it would be really cool to have like a vacation home there or something like that. But yeah, I don't even know I have a feeling that it's probably pretty hard to come across land for sale. I don't know. That's just what I have in my head. I just feel like because it's an island, is smaller. A lot of the land is probably owned by the monarch and things like that. It's probably pretty expensive to buy a good sized piece of land. Like we can go into some states in the U.S., like say Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, and you can get an acre of land for $500. But and then if you go somewhere, other places, it could be $50,000 for acre of land. But I'm guessing it's very expensive to buy an acre of land in the UK, period. Probably Ireland as well, I'm guessing. So I'm guessing most people, the land's been passed down generation to generation, and those people probably don't sell their land very often. Anyways, guys, thank you for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow me on my journey to discover my British and Irish ancestry. Until next time, guys, peace.